Hey, I'm Ben Monday and I'm a UWS uni student at UWS Hawkesbury College and also a part-time Pokemon trainer. I'm going to talk to you today about invasive weed species that enter waterways. Invasive weed species generally enter the waterway through urban runoff. When the weeds enter the waterways, they degrade the water and degrade the natural habitat surrounding the landscape.
Aquatic weeds are able to adapt to environmental living conditions very easily, and with this are able to produce a number of offspring in a short space of time. With a high abundance of weed species, especially the Salvinia species within a waterway, eutrophication can take place. Every time the weed species dies and erodes and breaks apart in the water, it takes a lot of oxygen out of the water during the process. The process of eroding weed takes so much oxygen out of the water that oxygen levels as a whole declines. So if the weed problem in whatever waterway was so severe, the amount of oxygen that the weeds would take out of the water would cause a toxic living environment for those aquatic species, and therefore the local aquatic species numbers would diminish.
Pikachu, get down from there! See, Pikachu is not in its natural habitat, and that's the same with weeds. They're competing for space against local fauna and flora species. Now I'm going to show you a waterway that is known to be affected by weed species and how it affects the waterway. Here it is, Glenbrook Lagoon, the waterway that has known to be degraded by the Combomba weed species and the Salvinia weed species.
Salvinia plants are floating ferns. There are 10 species of Salvinia in the world, and the water fern, Salvinia minima, is a species which occurs in Florida. Water fern is about 3/4 inch in size. It occurs in still water areas with a high organic matter content. It often grows in association with other aquatic plants. Water fern has joined oval leaves. Its leaf surfaces are covered with stiff hairs. Water fern has root-like structures, which are actually modified leaves. These small floating ferns are about 3/4 inch in size. Water fern has paired oval leaves with stiff hairs on the leaf tops. It has leaves that look like underwater roots.
Just like Pikachu will evolve into Raichu, the natural environment will evolve into a low degraded waterway. There are different ways in combating this problem: mechanical removal, chemical removal, and biological removal. But there's also one removal that people don't know of. Pikachu, use thunderbolts!
Well, that was electrifying. On a more serious note, and on the points I made before, the three main ways in removing weeds are physical, chemical, and biological removal. Physical removal involves human workforce to physically remove the weed species. This can be very time consuming, depending on the size of the infestation. However, it is the most affordable, practical, and proven to be successful long-term solution to get rid of the weed species. Chemical removal in the weeds is slightly more complicated process than the physical control. Chemical removal might kill 90% of the weed species, but 10% will survive the removal and build up resistance of the chemical formula. So when the offspring of the parent species gets into contact with the same chemical formula, the new weed won't be affected by the formula at all, so the solution is a very costly solution. Finally, the biological removal of weeds is very limited. There are only a handful of successful biological removals. However, the biological controls have been proven to be very risky and very costly solution in the past, so biological control is most likely not the way to go. In conclusion, the most adequate approach to be taken is the physical removal approach. It may be very time consuming, however, it is the most practical and the cheapest approach to this issue. In doing the physical removal approach, it doesn't have detrimental effects on the environment, so you are assured to be getting the right target species.
So if you want to be the very best like no one ever was, support government agencies and local councils to get rid of these invasive weed species out of our waterways and to restore the natural habitat to its former self.